Hi, I am Dr. Pamela Mertens. I'm the head Edlink trainer for LDOE, and thank you so much for watching this session on how to complete a renewal application. Now, for some of you, this may be the first time that you're ever using Edlink. Most of you will not be coming up on your renewals just yet because we are in a first year transition. So I will go ahead and explain the dashboard features to you. I don't want to assume that you know where everything's at, so just bear with me. Let's go ahead and get started. So at the top here, we have Entity Dashboard, these three hash lines. Your dashboard should say Entity Dashboard, and then it'll say Welcome Back and your name. Okay, we are asking or making it mandatory that there be only one entity manager per site. Now, if you have director designees, then they should be requesting staff administrator, and that is the only role they need to request. Okay, but entity manager and security coordinator is needed by the director. But we ask that there just be one per site to eliminate any confusion. All right. So then we have the large Edlink logo. Sometimes I'll use that as a directive saying under the large logo or under the Edlink logo. This is considered your left side navigation panel, your left side navigation panel. Okay, and we call this just your open dashboard. All right, so when I say scroll down your dashboard, you're just going to scroll down to the bottom here, just like that. Okay, so you will not have this. I have multiple sites that are that I have access to. You will only see this. And you'll see your center's name. And if you have more than one center, when you click on these little arrows, you will see all of your centers listed underneath it. And you can toggle between them. So for instance, if you have 2 centers or 3, and they're all due for renewal at the same time, that's not a problem. It's confusing for you, but it's not a problem. So you can open up the renewal on one center and start it, and then toggle to the other center, open that renewal, and the same for the third, open the renewal. You can only have one application up, open, or in progress, or pending per site though. But since you're doing 3 different sites, then you can have all 3 renewals open at the same time, which does help, especially if you're trying to keep track of what credentials you've entered for directors or designees for inspections, okay? Now, once you open an application and leave it, let's say you have to go to lunch and come back, or you get disrupted or distracted, okay, you can always sign back in, and you're going to find it down here, and it's going to look just like this one. It'll say renewal under category, but you'll click on the edit and it will take you right back to the application homepage, and I'll show you what that looks like, and then you can pick up right where you left off. Okay, so don't worry if you can't do it all in one setting. Most people would not. Okay. All right. So now we have the dashboard. So anywhere in the application process, you can click back on my dashboard and it'll bring you back to this screen. These 3 buttons right here, you do not need to mess with at all right now. Okay. Stay away from these. These are for people who are way greater than 90 days until their expiration. In other words, you are watching this because you are in the window, the 90-day window to your expiration date. That means that your renewal is open. So you should not be using any of these. These are separate applications. If you want to change service hours, or you're adding staff, or you're changing your banking information. However, every single thing that you're going to pay for separately here, everything is inside of your renewal. Okay, anything you want to add, edit, change is inside of your renewal. So stay away from these buttons. You don't need these at all. Now, there are a couple exceptions. Okay, and I want you to write this down. Okay, so the first exception is if your banking information has changed and you want that taken care of before you submit your renewal, then by all means, go ahead and click on financial management. And when you select update banking information and application, it'll be labeled entity. Under category, it'll look like that. Okay, but it'll have in progress. All right, so you're going to just upload your new banking information and input the data that it's asking for, and then it shoots off an application to LDOE for approval. Now, it's not going to be overnight. I'm sure it doesn't take too terribly long, but you will not be able to start your renewal until that application comes back. Remember, per site, you can only have one application open. But banking is one of those instances where you may need to change, okay? Make a change. Now, entity management. If you go into entity management, you can view anything that you want about your entity. It's kind of nice to do this before you start your renewal, just so that you can get a feel for what you might want to change, okay? All right, and you also have KinderConnect here. So if you're type 3 and you have CCAP children, if you're not grant funded or Head Start, you're going to go under Entity Management and KinderConnect. That's where you're going to find the list of your kids, as well as the attendance, anything else that you need for KinderConnect. Okay, the other part in here that you can actively use is entity documents. So entity documents is going to have all of last year's, which for you guys, you probably won't have anything here yet. But they will, your director qualification letter will upload any of your statement of deficiencies. And again, everybody gets a statement of deficiency, whether you have any or not. You'll have your licensing issuance letter and your center license. You can click on these, they're PDFs, and print them out or just view them by clicking on the eyeball. And you can also archive ones as they get old. It doesn't delete them because you can still use the search criteria here to locate. You can do it by date or type, okay? But it gets it out of the way, so you keep it clean. You can also, down here at the bottom, you'll see all the documents that you previously uploaded for last year's licensing. Now, again, most of you who are doing this are brand new to Edlink, and we did not transfer over documents. So once you complete your renewal, you will see all of the documents that you uploaded for all of your staff, for the facility, anything else will be listed right here. Okay, now you can add new. Now, the reason you might want to add new, let's say that midway through, maybe your inspection was due in 6 months. So you knew you had another 6 months on your license, or excuse me, on your inspection. So you may want to, when you renew your license or when you renew your inspection, upload it in here, okay? And let your consultant know, because your consultant's going to contact you at some point to find out whether or not that inspection is now current. And you can direct her or him to your entity documents and let them know that you already uploaded the latest one. Now, when you do your next year's renewal, you will still have to upload that inspection into the application, but in between, in that period, from license renewal to license renewal, it provides you a place to communicate via documents to your consultant, okay, or to your specialist, okay. It's also a good safekeeping method for credentials, facility, health records, anything that you might be concerned with potentially losing or you want to keep safe, okay? Consider this your digital vault. The only people who can see this are you and your LDOE staff, okay? And that's it for that one. So with entity management, you can view everything. You can use entity documents, okay? And you can use KinderConnect. All the other ones will start an application. So don't make any changes in these. Don't hit edit. It's tempting, I know, but you're going to do everything inside of your renewal. Okay. Staff management, all the staff needs to be added, deleted, or revised inside of your renewal. Financial management, the only time you're going to do this one is if you do have to change your banking information for CCAP purposes, which would be the CCAP and banking. If you have to do that before your renewal, you go ahead and do that. Okay. And then, of course, you have messages, all the messages that you receive in regards to your application will come through Edlink. You can dictate under your account settings and notifications. whether or not you receive that to your email. I would suggest you set all notifications, and then you can back off if they're just too much. But there's not really that many, and you do need to know with the reminders if something's about to expire, because Edlink will let you know. New messages, you definitely need that for your application process. And you want to know if your records have changed for security purposes. Okay. All right, but you do have entity access request, which you did in order to get your entity dashboard. Okay, and it has a list of all places where you have access to. And then you have your password and security. I would recommend you not change your password, get your renewal in, then you can mess around with all that. Wait till your license has been renewed. And help, anybody can file a complaint or submit a report for child abuse, okay? Now, find the right program. The only time you would use find the right program is if you were opening an existing, you have an existing center, but want to open a second, third, or fourth center. In other words, you're adding a center to what you already have. This is a training session specifically for renewal applications. You would never do a new application as an existing provider unless you are opening an additional center, or you are closed, completely permanently closed, and you're starting back over. Okay, and in that case, make sure you get with your consultant and make sure that you're doing everything that you're supposed to do to reopen. Okay, so you will not even go into this area. All right, just want you to know I'm showing it to you to stay out of it. Okay, your resources, you have helpful links here. You also see those on your dashboard. These links will take you directly to all the things that your application is asking for, and the application will give you specific instructions. So we're going to click back to our dashboard. Okay, and notice we have our entity information here. It says our license type, we're open, when it expires, okay, and our license number. All right, down here, this is that pending application section I just showed you a few minutes ago. This is an application right here that I started but have not submitted. It will always be in progress if you're still working on it. Okay, once it has been submitted, you will see a pending. It'll say pending status, and you'll have the option to withdraw or view it. Once you submit an application, you can view it, but you cannot make any changes to it. Okay, the only thing you can do is view or withdraw it. So this is what all of your apps are going to look like until you submit it. And you have your messages at the bottom. Okay, like this one right here, renewal application was withdrawn, change of information received. So you'll receive emails that look like this, okay? And there'll be links provided inside the email to take you to anywhere that information is needed. All right, so some of you, let's go back up to the renewal section here. Some of you have buttons here that are green. If you have quick links and you have green buttons and you're 90 days from your expiration, not anniversary month, but 90 days, the last green button over here on the right side, it says submit renewal application. You will click on that button and you can go ahead and do that. Those of you who have a desk or a dashboard that looks like this, that's perfectly fine. This is just a newer version. You will click on start renewal. Okay, so again, if you have quick links, you're going to go to the far right, and they should all be dark green if you're 90 days from your expiration. Click on that far right button that says submit renewal application. That's the only button you need to worry about right now. Okay, remember, all this stuff is off limits for the most part. You really don't need any of this right now. Okay, and unless you have one of those special circumstances. Okay, and you can click on start renewal. So for this one, I want to click on start renewal. Okay, and it's going to take us to our renewal application home. So I'm going to give myself a little more room. I'm going to click on these three hash lines up here. Just kind of expands it more. So in the renewal, we are modifying and verifying information that was transferred from previous legacy programs. Okay, so about 65% of the information, the data will have been transferred, because much of your application is document uploads, which documents were not transferred, so that we can have new and current documents input, also verified. So you're going to start by reading the banners. Always read the banners. The banners are telling you in this instance that once you complete a step, because notice how they're labeled here. Once you complete a step, it will turn green. You'll receive a green badge that will be right underneath the step. Okay, if it is not complete, let's say you get to that page and you can't complete it because you're missing some information, that's fine. About 90% of the pages will allow you to proceed to the next page, but you'll get a yellow badge that says incomplete. Now, unless all of your steps are green, you cannot submit. You can't pay. Okay, so it's very good with letting you know what you still need to do. A couple things I want you to think about when we come to, let's see, service and hours. If you're caring for children under 1 year old, okay, make sure you keep that in the back of your mind, because we're going to talk about that in service and hours. So let's go ahead and start with renewal application instructions. We're going to click on the blue button. And let's go ahead and expand all. You can always collapse or expand, but there have been some bulletin changes, some requirements that are additional. You do need to read through this. It's not a lot. It just looks like a lot, but it's not. It's only 2 or 3 sentences per section there. Okay, we talk about your staff members, the need for on-site and off-site emergency contact information. We also have integrated your CCCBC status. Only your status is integrated. So you must have an eligible, a green eligible, in order to submit the application. So if you have staff that do not have eligible next to their name, they should not be on your roster. Okay, and directors or director designees cannot submit without an eligible. Okay, childcare, we just talked about that one. Current commercial medical liability. Make sure that whatever insurance or inspection is provided to you, that you upload all pages they give you. Okay, even if there's nothing on it, it'll still be numbered. Okay, so your fire marshal inspection, start early with this. Contact them now. It can take 3 or 4 months for them to make it out to you. So if you are running out of time, this will not be justification for an extension. So make sure that you go ahead and alert them that you need to have your inspection completed. Same thing with your health approval. Now, pictures of center, this may be new for some of you, but it tells you right here what pictures they need. Okay. Emergency preparedness plan. Make sure that you download the template and complete it, and you're going to upload it into the emergency plan document upload section when you get to that step. Okay, documentation of ownership. This is real easy. If you have a couple options, you can go to the Secretary of State site and you can enter the address, or excuse me, the name of your entity, which is the name of your center. And at that point, you'll receive a downloadable document on your screen that will indicate who the officers, agents, and owners are. And you can just upload that document into that, that requirement. Qualifications of director and designee. So Bulletin 137 does list the requirements. All type 3 must be CCAP. If they're not CCAP, they must be grant funded or Head Start. Okay, now for this year only, okay, grants and Head Starts will have to upload a CCAP doc. That will be, you will not have to do this next year. Okay, so you will have the same qualifications for director and designee as your CCAP individuals do. Okay, and I'll go over these in a second as far as what they mean. So let me give you the list. So if you'll write this down, remember you can always pause this and rewind it. Okay, so you're going to need pre-service orientation. This pre-service orientation for CCAP providers, it's focused on CCAP providers. It is a 4-hour course that you can take through Udemy. I believe it's $15. There's no certificate that you receive, but there is a completion screen. So you just screenshot that and upload that for completion. If you're Grant or Head Start, you will simply upload a dummy doc, and you can actually label it pre-service orientation dummy doc. Okay. We have to meet the criteria for Edlink. It expects something in the category and the type, or you won't be able to move to the next page. But again, you won't have to do this next year because your funding paths will be totally specific to your type that you're of your funding. Okay, the second document you'll need CPR, then you'll need first aid. And if these are on the same document, that's fine. Just upload it in one category and type, and then upload it again in the next category and type. Okay, because every category and type has to be fulfilled. All right, and then your next one is going to be mandated reporters. That needs to be renewed each year. I think it's a 2-hour course. It might not even be that long, but just type that in. There's also, or type it into Google or Louisiana Believes, and the page comes up, but we've also given you links for that under the helpful links. And then you'll need medication administration. So medication administration, you need 2 per center. Okay, usually the director and the designee or trusted staff. Okay, and that needs to be renewed per your certificate. I know there's different links to that sometimes. Okay, and your last one that you need is ELC experience. So your ELC experience is going to be one of 3 things. You can upload a resume, an up-to-date resume, because what we're looking for is documentation or a testament from you of your years of experience and as a licensed care provider. You can also upload last year's director qualification letter if you have it, even if it wasn't from last year. If you qualified 3 years ago, you still qualify today. Okay, but you can also have a letter of recommendation from another licensed director attesting to your years of experience. Okay, so you have options there. Now, your staff requirements, your other staff requirements are teacher. It doesn't matter which one you select for them. You can call them what you want in your facility. They will need CPR, first aid, and mandated reporters. Now, the documents that I just gave you, those are the mandatory documents in order for you to submit your application. That doesn't mean that there aren't supplemental documents that your consultants will ask for after your application's been submitted, which is fine. We have a process called return to provider. And what they do is if there's anything they're looking for, they will contact you by sending the application back to you with a link linking it directly to where they need additional information, or they will ask you to simply upload your documents using that entity documents option right here. Okay, they'll ask you to put it in there so that they can view it. All right, but in order to upload your document, you'll need to make sure that you have all those mandatory documents there. Okay, so now this is one that we've just started. So let's make sure that I didn't lose this one here. Hold on just 1 second. Here we go. Okay, so this is what it looks like if you have to leave it. And I left it by showing you a different menu area, but it saved everything I've done so far. Okay, now don't forget to hit save at the bottom of the screen. Some of them do require saving, but all I have to do is find the one I was working on, hit edit, and it takes me back to the first. We never got through the instructions yet, or we haven't yet. Okay. So also down here, we're almost finished with this one. Additional supporting documents. You will need to do your zoning. So if you're in one of these parishes, which most of you probably are, you'll click on it and it'll take you to your zoning department. You'll put in the address of the center, and a downloadable document will appear, pretty colorful usually, and it tells you what your zoning is, your zoning number. For Orleans Parish, okay, you require the city and the city fire as well. Okay, and then vehicle information, this is only going to be asked if your services are offering transportation. Okay, provider agreement and rate agreement. You should be pretty familiar with that. Verification of identity must be a government issued picture ID. So you will need to do front and back. So just put it on the same page. Social Security cards, IRS form. Now remember, there should not be any new providers in here. These are all veteran existing providers, okay? You will need to upload, or excuse me, first download a direct deposit authorization form, complete it and upload it. Verify all of your banking information. Okay? Even if you did this in the past, you need to do it again to make sure everything is in the system correctly. Verification of rates. We want to see how you let your parents know what the rates are going to be, and they need to match or align with what you put inside the application. Now, if you are grant and not charging, or Head Start and not charging, when we get to the verification of rates, instead of putting zeros, you're simply going to put ones. The system does not accept zeros at this time. So you'll just put a 1 in all of those. And I'll remind you, this is that pre-service orientation that my CCAP providers need to take. Again, grant and Head Start do not need to take it. Just create a blank Word doc and label it pre-service orientation dummy doc. Okay. And then you have your time and attendance agreement, which you'll download, complete, and upload. And we're going to hit yes, I agree here and save and continue. Now it rolls us into the next step. If I want to return to instructions, I can always go back to return to application at any time and open up any steps that I previously worked through. So here you can uncheck any of these boxes. The only thing is, as a type 3, it's assumed that you are already CCAP. Okay, so leave it the way that it is if you have no changes. The CCAP application this year anyway has the assumption and built in that you are a CCAP provider. And again, grants and Head Starts, don't worry, it's not going to impact you at all. We know who you are. Okay. All right, but if you want to add anything, you're more than welcome to add. If you're switching something around, that's perfectly fine. But remember, if there's nothing to change, then don't change it. Okay, keep it simple. Save and continue. Your CCAP is integrated into your application now. So is your academic approval. So you do not need to do that separately. So just leave it as is if you are already a CCAP provider. Okay, so here you can click on edit and you can change the name. Now, we recommend that you do not change the name in its entirety. If you would like to add an indicator like north, south, east, or west, or maybe you have 10 facilities and you want to do them 1 through 10, or there's a spelling issue or capitalization or spacing, something like that, okay? Keep it very simple because that could impact your licensing. It could impact your CCAP. Just be very careful. If it's minor changes, that's perfectly fine, okay? We just want to make sure we're dealing with the same center all the time. If you do want to change the name, then talk to your consultant on the best way to do that. That way we know it's happening and we can instruct you on how to do that properly. Okay, school and center finder. All of you will be located on the school and center finder. You click the link and it opens into a separate page. And here you're just going to put your school or your center name in and you'll find it here. Okay, and we're going to pick Baby Bear. And this is a type 3, so it does have academic performance ratings. Okay, if you are Head Start or grant, you will also have the academic performance. The only thing that would be different is the funding, but you have your hours of operation, your license number, and down here you can even add some Montessori type things if you're offering music and art. It has a location for your parents to see where you're at. This is good for providers too, because if you're full or at capacity, perhaps you can recommend a parent to this school and center finder link so that you can recommend a provider to them, okay? Or you can help them find a provider. So when you want to close out of a link that you open in the app, all you do is X out and you're good to go. Okay, So now you cannot change the physical address of your center. That is a change of location application. The only thing that you can edit is the mailing address. So if you want to edit the mailing address, you simply go in here where it's white, it has to be solid white. Notice how this is still a tag gray. You cannot change anything here. Anything that's white, you can change, and then you're going to hit save. I'm just going to hit cancel. Don't make any changes. Don't hit edit if everything's fine. Now, right here is the same thing. This is a free marketing plug that goes into that school and center finder page, because if you add any of your social media URLs, they will appear on that school and center finder page. You can also change the contact information for parents here. So this is for that school and center finder page. If you want enrollment to go to the assistant director instead of you can put their email in here. Okay, so they're bombarded with emails. All right, so then we hit save. All right, and now we're going to save and continue. This is not a progress bar. This is a cheerleader bar. It's letting you know that you did something successfully. Green is always good. Okay, we're going to save and continue. Okay, and I'm going to expand this again. Service and hours. Okay, this is what I was referring to earlier. So these fields were not even available to transfer over. A lot of this was done using different methods, not always electronic for you guys. Okay, so you're going to have to put how many buildings are used by the children, how many classrooms, and remember your specialists, the inspectors, they're going to measure everything when they come out, so don't worry. If you are caring for children under the age of 1, this is the statement that I was referring to, the safety approved crib statement. You must sign and date this anytime you leave the application. Okay, anytime you make a new request, you also need to complete this statement again. So anytime you pull a page up where a safety approved crib statement is, you're going to have to update it with your signature, and always use the picker because it takes you right to today's date. Okay, and remember, this is the youngest age to the oldest age, and you're going to hit save. Now, if you change your mind, all you have to do is hit edit and then change this back to years. If you, and maybe if your child that you're caring for is no longer under a year, you can always change that the following year. Okay. Now, a caveat with this, if you get through the application, let's say it took you 3 days to fill the application out or longer. When you get finished the application and you're ready to pay, and it won't let you pay. This is the first page that you need to go back to, because like I said, if it is not signed and dated to the current day, you will not be able to pay or submit the application. Okay, so you'll edit and save. Operating hours, we default to all year. If that is not the case, then you'll go to edit and you're going to change that to no, and you're just going to tell us from when to when. Maybe you only do summer, maybe you only do holidays. All right. And maybe you're 24 hours. If you select 24 hours, this goes to a 24-hour clock and you do not have to do anything else with it. Okay. But you can take some days off if you're not working all days in the week. Okay. But I'm going to go ahead and change this back to all year and not 24 hours, because most of you are Monday through Friday, but you can add days here just by clicking on the toggle. Okay. And now if your center opens at 5 a.m. and let's see, closes at 6 p.m., you'd have to go through each one of these and change it, or you can just do copy to all. And it pops that time into all of them, and then you hit save. Now, if there's nothing to change from last year, then don't worry about it. Just you basically want to verify everything is still correct. If it's correct, you just keep going, but take your time and look. Here, a lot of you will need to do your before and after care. Okay. Now, whenever you select before and after care or anything to do with time, you will have time blocks that pop up down here that you'll need to complete here in a second. This is that transportation service that I said. If you select one of these, you'll have to provide vehicle information. Okay, just select the ones that you want. Now, some of you already have preferences in here to what you're offering. So again, don't edit if you don't need to. Okay, so we're going to hit save. And down here, just make sure that your time for before care begins from when your facility actually opens. Okay, so you'd want to adjust that to, you're going to hit edit, and you're going to adjust that to 5. And then we'll probably make this 6 because usually that's only about an hour. And we'll hit save. And now I decided that maybe I don't want aftercare. Okay, so I'm going to hit edit, aftercare, I'm removing, I'm going to hit save. And now the aftercare goes away. All right, and then I'm going to hit continue. And you keep getting those cheerleaders up there. All right, so ownership type, you cannot change your ownership type. It should be what it was last year. Okay, now if there is a change you want to make, I would suggest you renew first, get your license back first, and then you can complete an ownership type application. Okay. Your tax information, you should not have any issues with entering these. Should be what you saw last year. If it's not correct, you will be able to put the correct numbers into both of those. Save and continue. All right, now center owner. So this might get a little confusing for the Head Start and the grants. Oftentimes they're part of schools or sometimes even nonprofits, systems where there might be more than one owner or a committee or a board or such. Okay, the owner does not always mean that they're the owner of the brick and mortar. So if that is a situation that you're in, to where maybe it's a school board, then you'll want to see if your principal or your superintendent, if it's inside of a school, just let them know, say, hey, I'm the director, but I'm putting my information in as the owner, meaning responsible party only. You can also go to that Secretary of State site, put the entity name in there again, and see if it lists a specific owner. And if it does, then you can ask that person if they would enter their information as the owner. Now, here's the kicker with this. Okay, as the owner, if they've used any other names in the last 5 years, they're going to have to respond to that. And if they have, they're going to have to list them. Okay, they're going to have to list their own address and their mailing address. And this is what usually stops them in their tracks. They have to give their date of birth. They have to give their social, which is redacted, except for the last 4 once you click away. Their driver's license, the government issued ID, the issuing state, and their sex and their race. And it'll ask if they're married. And if they are, there's additional questions that look just like these above, they need to fill out for their spouse. So you can already see where somebody who may not have any real affiliation with your daycare center having to complete this as an owner. So more often than not, the director also puts himself as the owner. And again, it doesn't mean that you are the owner of the brick and mortar. It means that you are the responsible party for licensing, which you are. So you'll put your information here. You don't have to check employee right here for emergency contact, because you can do that when you put yourself in as director also. Okay, so we're going to go down here and save and continue. We've got our owner information in there. Now, when you're doing your renewal, you're most likely going to have to put your parish and your state in. So make sure you're very carefully look through there. Everything with a red asterisk needs to have information. Okay, so here's our early learning center staff. What did transfer was some of your staff and your director information, your owners as well. So on each of them, though, you're going to have a warning triangle over here on the left side with an exclamation mark in it. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong. It's just letting you know that as a director, you are going to have to go through each one of your staff, including your own, to make sure that you have everything that you need. For yourself and for your staff, you're always going to have to complete sections 3, 4, and 5. So if you want to write that down, and you'll see those when we get to the next page. So to make the triangle go away. Okay, and of course it's invisible triangle here for me right now. It's just imaginary. We're going to go over here to the director, and we're always going to use the pencil to do any editing. So let's just go through here. I'm going to pretend this is me, and I'm making sure my address and everything's good. Yes, I am an emergency contact for the center. Your directors always are, and director designees too. And owners are not always. Okay, now this is my information. So I put my address, not the center's. Okay, and I put my mailing address. All right, date of birth, you have to be over 16 and under 100. And your social, identification number, state, sex, and race. Now, this will not be filled in. Okay, so now you get down to section 4. Let's say there were 3 other directors that were listed on here. Maybe I don't want to be director anymore, so I'm going to make myself director designee, and I'll let somebody else take over director for a while. I can change that right here. Okay, I can also change myself to other staff if I want to. These 2 have the same credential requirements. Okay, but you can make that distinction right here. I'll show you on the next one. Okay, so we're going to leave that at director. Years of experience, make sure you read your bulletin because you do have a minimum years of experience. Okay, date appointed to current role, you can use the picker or you can type a date in. Okay, so this will be the more recent, and this will be the one where you were hired in any capacity. Now, if you have more than one center, you must check this because you have to designate a director designee if you are responsible for more than one center. If not, just hit no. Okay. All right, so I'm going to leave that at yes, though, so you can see that notification. All right, so this is going to be, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're missing one document here. So let me show you how to add that. Okay, so we have our pre-service mandated ELC, CPR, pediatric first aid. So if we want to view any of these, of course, we go into the eyeball. We can see what we uploaded just to make sure it's not dogs and cats or boyfriends or girlfriends or something. Okay, if it's not what we want, we can go in and edit it and retitle it, correct some expiration dates if we want. I find it just as easy to just trash it and then just start over with that document. It's probably quicker. Unless you've entered a lot of information into the first file. So you have an option. You can view it, edit, trash it, and start it over. Okay. So how you add a new document, I'm going to add the one that's missing, is you're going to go to add new. This is that category and type that I said the criteria must be met in order to save this. So we're going to go to category. All of your required documents, mandatory documents, are going to be under education and training, except for this one that says experience, and that one's going to be under experience. Okay. So now we go over to type, and we go down to medication administration, because that's the one that's missing. And it knows what's missing based on the category and type that you've completed. Okay, you'll put who certified it. Now, if you have Red Cross, or excuse me, if you have CPR first aid, it was done by a registered nurse, somebody who was certified to train you, then just put their name and just put certified instructor. Okay, expiration date. I'm just going to put a date in there. And then we're going to browse and select the file. Okay, we're going to select it and hit open. And that's what it looks like when it's uploading. And that's what it looks like when it's finished. You can look at it. If you like it, then you hit the check mark. If you don't like it, you can hit the trash can and upload another file. So we're going to hit the check mark. Okay, so go ahead and take a picture of that. These are the required documents that you will need to submit for director or director designee. Okay, go ahead and get a picture of that or a screenshot. All right, so now we're going to save and close. Now, once we save and close, the triangle disappears. Okay, so let's, this is a duplicate. So I'm going to show you how easy it is to delete. Okay, so I'm just going to hit the trash can. Are you sure you want to delete Cynthia? Yes. And now Cynthia's gone. Now she's technically gone, but I'm in a training mode. Okay, so she stays there for this one. Now Donna's the same way. If you want to delete the duplicate Donna, you can do the same thing. It's that easy. Now, let's say Donna, we can't have two directors at one facility, but she is an emergency contact. Okay, all this information is correct. Okay, she's got all of her stuff there, but I want her to be a director designee. It can only be one chief. Okay, so we're going to save and close. And now notice she is now director designee. And these two have been technically deleted. Okay. If you need to delete any staff members, all you have to do is hit the trash can and they go away. Do not do any of this using those the left side menu. Do everything inside of your renewal. So if you want to add a new staff member, you're going to click add new, complete their information. Now you only need one on-site emergency contact, but it does have to be selected here within the person's staff page. Okay, it can't be done later on. I'll show you that. You need one on-site and one off-site. And you already have two that you selected for on-site. And you can have as many as you want, but you technically don't need any more. It's just totally up to you if you want them to be an emergency contact. Okay, so I'm just going to put anything in here. Okay, there you go, email. Okay, now Edlink doesn't know whether it's a legitimate email, but it does know if it's formatted correctly. Okay, street name, city, that's it. State, Louisiana's at the very top. It is not between Kentucky and Maine like you learned in school. I think they thought it would be a little quicker, but you do spend a lot of time looking for it because it is at the top. So if it's the same mailing address as physical, you're just going to do copy to mailing and it pops all that information over there. Same thing here. We're going to give a date of birth. I'm just going to pick something here. Okay, social security number, identification number. Whoop, it's not going to like those pluses. Yeah, can't be characters like that. Okay, issuing state, Louisiana's at the top. Okay, sex, male or female. You do have prefer not to disclose, but nobody wants to surprise parents. They want what they want. Okay, position type. We're going to say other staff or teacher. Doesn't matter which one, credentials are the same. It doesn't matter what you call them in your center. This is just for Edlink. Okay, date appointed to current role. I'm just going to put them both for today, just for simplicity. Now, we're going to add new for them because they do have 3 that they need. Okay, education training. We're going to do CPR. Okay, expiration. And it doesn't matter whether you upload it first and then do this or do this and then upload. It doesn't matter as long as you answer all the questions inside the thing. Okay. And now we're going to hit check. And we're going to add new again. And then we're going to do first aid. And like I said, if it's all in the same document, that's perfectly fine. Just upload that same document twice into each category. All right, and then the last one is your mandated reporter, which is also under education training. Remember, they're all under education training except for your experience. Okay, and let's do an expiration date. And we check and save. Now, if you do not put all the required credentials for each of your staff members, including yourself and director designee, you will not be able to pay and you will not be able to submit. Okay. So this is the CCCVC status page. So this is more of an informational page, not any type of action page that you have any tasks to do. These are all fictitious names, so they all say no match. But if you're completing your application, these statuses are directly linked to correct social security numbers, birth dates, and names that are put into the system by you when you add a staff member. All right. So So you can filter them by these different categories here. And it's still going to tell you, they're still not eligible. The only one that you can submit with is eligible, and they will be green. The letters will be green. Director and director designee must have an eligible, or you cannot submit the application. If you have an employee who is a no match or ineligible, then they shouldn't even be on your roster. So, but you guys know that, okay? Get their background taken care of, then they can come back to work. So we're going to save and continue, but let me show you this first. If you click on this image itself, it'll take you to the CCCBCS. Okay, so you can give them this link and they can log in and find out what's going on with their background check. Okay, or that you can click here and get the same thing. They can also type it in Google and just type in CCCBCS and they'll get to it as well. Okay, so here's the emergency preparedness plan. So it's rather large. The template is 32 pages. Okay, so now that we're uploading documents, and we did before, but I want you to write this down. This is your scan profile. So many of you might know what this is, but most of you, when you buy your scanners, they come with a default of resolution or DPI at around 300 to 600, which is huge. You do not need that. It's maybe if you're working with graphics or photos, high-end photos. Okay, but you guys are uploading mostly documents, probably 99% documents. So make sure that your scan profile is set to 70 to 150 DPI dots per inch, 70 to 150 DPI dots per inch. You'll have a range depending on your scanner. You just pick the lowest range. Usually it stops at about 70. Okay, and you're going to select black and white, not grayscale, black and white, because the others take up way too much memory. Okay, and then when you go to save it, or for your profile, you're going to pick PDF if you can. If not, JPEG is fine, or whatever your scanner's offering, except obviously video. Edlink will take every extension except videos. So when you go to scan this back in, your document's only going to be about 4 or 5 megabytes. Whereas if you leave it at that high resolution where most of your scanners are, it's going to be about 40 or 50 megabytes. In other words, your computer is going to crash. Okay, you won't be able to upload anything else and your computer will crash. So make sure that you keep that scan file as a default for all of your documents. And it's also in the type 3 application user guide on the Edlink training page. So make sure that not only do you have this video, but you also have that user guide next to you. Okay. You can use the template, or excuse me, you can use the emergency preparedness plan that you had last year if you meet all the criteria of this new template. I would advise you to go ahead while everything else is fresh and new and has to be uploaded, that you do the template. Maybe have your director designee do it from experience in this field of emergency management. I would recommend that you do update it, because you might not realize how much of your plan has changed. So keep that up to date for the babies. Okay, so this banner here, it tells you what I just got through saying. If you choose to use your own and it doesn't meet all the requirements, it might be rejected. So consider that. Okay. Emergency contacts. These are the ones that I completed on their staff page. On sites. Notice how I can't edit them on this page. If I want to remove them as a emergency contact, I simply delete them. Okay, it doesn't delete them off of the staff roster, it just deletes them as emergency contacts. Okay, but if I want to edit my offsite, I simply click on the pencil and I can edit it. If I want to add an offsite, I can do it here. Okay, so you can add offsites under the emergency preparedness step. But in order to have on-sites, let's say you get to this page and you don't see any on-sites on here, you'll have to go back to application home and number 7, choose one of these and make sure that's checked as a yes. And then scroll down and save and close. Okay, and then you can go back. Okay, to the application homepage. And then you go to the emergency plan again. Actually, we have to work through that one. Makes you go into that one, then it rolls into the next one. Okay, so if you run into that issue, just make sure, since we didn't save and close here, it's not showing this one as complete. But now we have all the contacts we need. We've got one of each and then some. So we're going to hit save and continue. This is the CCAP. So grants and Head Start, you do still have to go through the motions. But again, don't worry. So you physically have to grab this toggle, read all that in theory, okay? And bring it to the bottom before this accepted button will be activated. Okay, so you'll click accept. You can download your CCAP agreement from here for your records, and your sign in, your digital sign in and your initials are part of that agreement that you can keep on record. You do not have to upload any documents. You don't have to sign anything. And again, do not worry, my Head Start and grants. I know that you're probably thinking, well, why am I signing this if I'm not taking it? You're attesting to the fact that you've read it. Okay, so don't worry. All right, so now your ages that you service down here. If you have an age range that you do not take care of, then simply put a 1. You cannot put a 0. Make sure you put 1s in there. So for grants and Head Starts, you're going to put 1s in all of your boxes. Unless you charge a minimum rate, then you can, because the grants could charge a minimum, just not all of it. Just make sure that you put a 1 in the ones that you normally would put a 0. You can also select yes, do you charge a registration fee? You don't have to, but if you do, you can put the fee in here. You can tell it per child or per family. Is it annually or one time? And you had before care listed as a service. So do we have a registration fee for that? If not, just leave that one alone. And if you decide there are no registration fees at all, just hit no. Okay, the time and attendance agreement, you're going to download this 14EA form, complete it, and you're going to upload it by browsing and selecting it again, just like you did on the previous ones. Okay, so now we're going to select our position. This is who's completing it. And date of birth. And we're going to save and continue. We're almost finished. Okay, so then academic approval. This is the same concept. Okay, select full-time or part-time. This is all type 3s. Doesn't matter whether you're Head Start or grant. Okay, all type 3s need to do academic approval. We're going to grab the scroll bar, pull it down after you read it, and all these become active. So where in the past, you may have had 2 or 3 different renewal dates for various applications like CCAP, academic approval, your licensing. It's all going to be in one calendar anniversary month moving forward. So if you're a November renewal, that's also the month that your academic approval and your CCAP CCAP are going to be renewed. Okay, everything's inside. So here's your contact information. It's a good time to review it, make sure everything looks good. If it doesn't, just head back to step 2 or step 3. Step 3 for your center information and make that change, okay? Now your chief administrator is usually your director. And again, this is just for Edlink and for the Secretary of State site, okay? Let's see, it's the responsible party at the center. So your position, again, this is more than likely the same person that's completing this. Okay. In fact, it must be the same person that's completing that. I don't want to leave that door open. Okay, and then we're going to hit save and continue. And now this one, I'm just going to go through a little quicker for you because we did a lot of uploads already, and we've talked about each of these inside of the instructions. So here you're going to upload the required documents. Now don't move too fast. I would recommend that you let it process before you go to the next one, although you don't have to. But most of your home computers, and even those you guys that are using let's say fast computers, but you're sharing Wi-Fi with all of your staff. Everybody's pulling from it, and hopefully it's secure, so nobody on the street's pulling from it. But it can become a little bit overburdened if you double up. Like if you go here and while that one's still processing, I mean, mine will do it because mine's pretty fast, but I also am not sharing my Wi-Fi with anybody. Okay. Now, if you run into a situation to where something is not uploading to where you get this Jungle Book hypnotic swirl, some of you may have already seen it before. I call it the Jungle Book swirl. I think only people my age might get that one. 9 times out of 10, it's because your file is way too large. You need to make sure that you use that scan profile, or you can open up that image in one of your defaulted like Paint program with Microsoft. Just double click and see what it opens up in. And you can usually change the file size in that program. Now, I did request that scanning and document uploading instructions that I created are put on the Edlink training page. So in that first week of July, they will be there. So if you forget this scanning stuff, it'll be there for you. And you can also Google anything that you need. Okay, remember this zoning, that's that one where you're going to download the document. Okay, and same with the ownership. And believe it or not, this application is very intuitive, very easy to use. You would not complete this any differently than you would a paper application. You won't leave blanks. You need to fill out everything that's asking for information. This is your banking information. So you're going to complete it here manually, but then down here, you're going to upload that direct deposit authorization form. Okay, which you've seen me upload other things. You're going to upload that here. Make sure it's legible and then save. I believe that it's editable. I think that you can, I think it's an active PDF. Okay. Okay, so now we come to the point of renewal summary. So this is giving us a list of all the modifications that we made. These were the original values that were in there. Remember, we changed the email here for the contacts. This is all the new stuff I put in there. All right, change the time and all that. Now you're going to have a lot of pages for a type 3. There's 24 pages to go through. And that's perfectly fine. You can go through each one of them individually and say, yep, that's it. Or you can return to your application home and review each page slowly, make sure all the information's correct. But if you're feeling lucky, you can hit confirm and it will check all of them for you. Okay, so you're going to go down here, put your role in again, put your name in. This time it's today's date, not your birthday. Okay, we're going to hit save and continue. Now I want to show you a couple things. This is what the badge looks like when you've completed something. Okay. Now, when you get to number 7, if you put any staff in there correctly, it's going to show complete. Edlink doesn't know whether you have 1 staff or 50. And you must have all your staff input before they will schedule an inspection. They will give you deficiencies galore if they get there and your staff has not been entered. 1 or 2 new ones, I don't think they're going to have an issue with, but they expect those staff to be in there so that everything can be reviewed before they get out there in that regard. So you're going to have to remember, always go back to 7 and make sure all of your staff are entered, even though it says complete. Okay, now this says incomplete. This was that CCCBC where all of my people were fictitious. So it says no match. So that is not going to be complete. And you cannot submit or pay until that says eligible. So if you have somebody that's a no match, then what you need to do in order to submit the application. Now, if it's a director or designee, you'll have to wait to submit. You're just going to have to wait 2 years as eligible. If you have a staff member, then that is maybe just in waiting, maybe they're just waiting for their fingerprints to come in or something, then you're going to go to the staff. You're going to find that one that had the no match, and you're going to remove them off the application. Okay, you're going to delete them. Okay, and remember, we're pretending to delete. So you're going to delete them. That way, when you get to the CCCBC step and you open it up, everyone will be eligible and that will be green. Okay. Because you will not be able to see the payment screen. What will happen right after you do your renewal, or excuse me, yeah, the renewal summary, is you'll be taken straight into the payment screen. And that's where you're going to pay your $25 initial fee. Now, every license type pays the $25. Then once the capacity is calculated by your consultant and your specialist based on the inspections, then a return to provider message will go out to you, letting you know that you need to open your application home, and it's going to indicate where you can pay that additional capacity amount. Okay. If you get to the payment section and it's not allowing you to pay, then I will almost promise you that it's because you need to go back to your number 4, service and hours. Make sure that that safety approved crib statement is signed and dated. Check your staff one by one and make sure that your director and designee have 6 documents. Make sure they're correct documents, and make sure that your staff have the 3 mandatory documents. Okay. Also, under emergency plan, make sure that you have 1 on-site and 1 off-site emergency contact, 1 of each. And let's see, and double check. Now, these will all, if you don't complete any of these, they will stay yellow. But those are the ones that are kind of, they're a little bit hidden. You have to make sure that, attention to detail. Okay. But that's about it for the type 3 renewal. Once that's all done, you're going to see this button turn green and you're going to submit renewal. And you're going to come back to the dashboard. It's going to bring you back to the dashboard. And like I said, down here, let me see if I have any pending I can show you. Let's see, probably not have too many of them down here. Okay, so this is what it looks like once you submit it. All right, it'll say renewal pending, and you'll have withdrawal application, and you can view the application. Do not be misled into thinking you can make changes. Once it's submitted, you cannot make changes. Now, there may be some reasons why you need to withdraw an application. Maybe you've decided not to do this after all. Okay. If that's the case, then you're going to click on withdrawal and you're going to follow the prompts. It's going to ask you to scroll to the bottom and click withdrawal. And then it's going to ask you again, are you sure you want to withdraw? So you can't mistakenly withdraw. And you can do it when you shouldn't have, but you can't really make a mistake and withdraw. Now, canceling, it's the same thing. When you cancel, it's going to say, are you sure you want to delete? And if you don't, you hit no. Okay. Your application will be down here in pending. Okay. And once it's approved, it will disappear from down here. The only things that you'll see are receipts for in progress or something you withdrew. Okay. All right. Well, that's it. And I'm so glad that you guys were able to join me for this session. Make sure that you do hop onto our Edlink training page and join us in any of our training sessions that we might have. They're on Mondays for the months of June and July, but I do run 3 sessions. I have accessing Edlink, I have completing types 1, 2, and 3, and I have the in-home family home if you have any colleagues that are those types of providers. You guys have a wonderful day, and we'll see you in training.